Hi guys, in this video I am going to start working with AWS CDK using Python. I will not go very deep into installation, but I'll go through the steps involved and I'll create a basic application and we will delve deeper into coming videos. So let's start with prerequisites. So I'm going to start with AWS CDK workshop website. So this is the name of website is cdkworkshop.com. Here it is mentioned what are the different requirements. Also it has some workshop in different languages. So let's see what is the prerequisites. Under prerequisites, the first requirement is to install AWS CLI, and why this is needed is just to communicate with the AWS console. So AWS API for this is going to set the credential on your local machine. So the installation of steps are mentioned here. So it has also the link for Windows and different OS, and you can follow this link for this AWS CLI installation. And then next step would be to create the user. So you need to create a user in AWS console and then create an access and secret key for that user, and with the AWS CLI you are going to basically set these credential in your local machine. So you just need to follow this command AWS configure, and then you'll provide the access key and secret key and the default region in the that you have created for the user, and you need to just follow certain permissions. This user need to have administrator access that is going to be used while bootstrapping this CDK application. And the next step is, after doing all these two steps, your next step is install node. So basically CDK is written in JavaScript and is going to install with the npm node package manager. So in order to install npm you need to install node, and that comes along with npm. So after installing node you need to install AWS CDK. Next prerequisite is some ID. So you can use whatever ID you are comfortable with. I generally use PyCharm, sometime VS Code as well. It's up to you. With what ID you are comfortable, you are free to use that. Then you need to install AWS toolkit. So it's using npm you can install AWS CDK. So this is going to provide a CDK command line tool through in your system. So with that, the next remaining thing is the language in which you are going to code. So CDK support different languages like Python, .NET, Java and Go. So we are going to cover CDK development using Python. So in that case you need to have Python installed in your machine along with pip. So that was all prerequisite. So with this, let's jump into the workshop and let's open the Python workshop, and here it says a new project. So it says like first you need to create a folder and then you need to run this command for the project setup. So let's create a folder here. So under Python project I'm going to create a folder, uh, and sample app. Under this folder, let me open the terminal here. Let's first verify whether CDK installed or not. So CDK is dash version. So it says CDK version 2 is installed. Now what I need to do, I need to just run this CDK init command here, which is this CDK init sample. So if I'm going to use just app here, not the sample. So basically sample app create a application with some sample. So the command I am applying here is CDK init app dash language, and language I am going to choose is Python. So just created certain files. It also created environment, virtual environment, because it says you need to use this command in order to run virtual environment. So let me open this project using PyCharm, then we can see what are the things here. Okay, so it has created a virtual environment, and then it has created a folders. You'll notice it's the same folder that we created earlier, the parent folder, and inside that folder it's created an stack. Notice the suffix stack. So it created the stack. Under that stack there are some code that are hidden, and there are one more file that is app.py, which is very main file, and we will discuss about it later. So let's just activate the virtual environment. So in my terminal it's already activated because PyCharm already detected that there is a virtual environment available inside this folder. So it's, but if not, then what we need to do is we going through source venv and then bin and then activate. Yeah, so if it's not get activated already, then you need to follow this command to activate the environment. Okay, now let's check. Okay, so before moving further, we are going to verify the credential, AWS credential, and we are also going to look the AWS account where we are going to create a sample lambda. So as you already know, AWS CDK uses AWS CloudFormation as an AND output. So basically it runs AWS CloudFormation script in the AWS system to create infrastructure. So let's jump into the account. So this is the AWS console, and we are in North Virginia region, and if we go to the CloudFormation, we will see there is no stack so far. and we will be creating this. And let's verify the credential in the local machine. So AWS configure, okay. So AWS CLI is not installed in my machine, but I had set up credential earlier. So let me just install the AWS CLI using Python and verify whether it's working or not. Let me type the command AWS configure. Okay, so it's showing the access ID here, access key ID, and then access secret access key, and then region, and the output format, which is none. So it's already set up in my machine. In case if it's not set up in your machine, you need to just run AWS configure command, and then you'll find the credential in the IAM. And if you see in my IAM, I have created a user that is programming user, and it has security credential created, and with this credential, this is the credential I have set up there. So you can see the access key, which is ending with U4V, and in my system I just showing as U4V. Okay, so it's the same credential. Now the basic step that we need to perform is, at first when we are running the AWS CDK first time, so we need to bootstrap the application. So what it does in the bootstrapping, it basically create a bucket, S3 bucket, and it also create a IAM roles, ECR, whatever the things that required in the CDK ecosystem. So it created all those things. So for the bootstrap, we need to look the documentation. So very basic command would be just write CDK bootstrap and remove anything else. So as of now we are not going to use anything extra. We would just use CDK bootstrap, and then in coming videos we will be looking into customization of the bootstrap. Like here you can configure the policies. By default it uses AWS administrator access, but in order, if you are working in a system where you need to have different role that has some strict access, in that case you can use this different IAM role as well, IAM policy here. Also by default it uses this default naming convention, so it is very important. But for now we will, as we are going to use the default one, so it is going to use HNB 659FDS in its naming convention. But this is very important when you are working with the cross account access, so we would come to it later. So for now just go with the default. So what I am going to do here is I will write CDK bootstrap, okay. So one thing that is left is in the requirement.txt you will notice there are certain Python dependencies that we need to install. So let me install that. Pip install or requirements.txt. Now we are ready to go. So we are going to use CDK bootstrap. Okay, so I started bootstrapping the environment, wherein see what is running. So it's basically picking the AWS account ID, then the region. So it's taking from the credential that I have set up using AWS CLI, and okay, so you can see here the stacks. So it started creating CDK toolkit stack, but it's got failed in the region. So in the event you will see that the bucket with this name already exists. So let's go to S3 bucket, and since we have a bucket already with this name and which is conflicting that CDK is trying to create, so we need to delete this bucket first. Okay, so it's deleted. Now I'll retry. Let me see whether it's resuming or not, because rollback completed. Okay, so it started. Let's wait for some time. Okay, so it's completed. Now we can see what all the different resources it created. So it created an SSM parameter wherein it mentioned the CDK bootstrap version. It created a role, CloudFormation execution role. Then it created an ECR repository where it's going to save all the Docker images, and then it created another role, that is deployment role, one more role that is for file publishing role, IAM policy, AMP role, bucket, and bucket policies. So these were the assets it created. Now let's create a sample lambda here in the AWS. So we will look into the code here. So first you need to go into app.py file. You can see here it's created an object of app, and then there is a stack defined here. And if you see where is this stack, then control B, so it's defined under this CDK Python app, and it says CDK v2 Python app stack. This is the class name, and here you can create your resources. So let's create a sample lambda. So just copy the code from the workshop. Okay, so it has a hello lambda code here. So it says create a directory lambda. Inside that directory create hello.py file, and just copy paste this content there. So I'm gonna create a folder, it is lambda, and I'm gonna create a file hello.py. I'm gonna paste this. So this is the sample lambda code, and now since our lambda code is ready, I'm going to define the construct that is going to create this lambda. So let me copy that as well from the workshop. So if you go down, you will see from AWS CDK it's importing the stack and lambda. Okay, so we are already importing stacks from AWS CDK. I'll just paste it here. Okay, so I've imported AWS lambda as underscore lambda. Now I'm going to copy this function construct. Okay, so here the construct ID is hello handler and the runtime is going to be Python 3.7. I am not modifying this, and the code is going to be fetched from, it's saying the lambda.code from asset, it means from the local. It's going to fetch from this folder, and then handler going to be hello.handler, which means this hello.py. Inside this hello.py there is a function called handler. So this is going to be main function for the lambda. Now the next step is to verify whether the code I have written is working well or not, whether it's fine or not. So I'm gonna write CDK synth. So basically synth command does not deploy anything, but it just uh, parse the whole code and it's generate a cloud formation file. Here the output you can see. So these are the output wherein the template is here. This is the template file that is generated. So this is basically a cloud formation file that you can directly run from cloud formation console. So now it says that everything is fine. So let's just deploy this using CDK deploy command. Okay, one thing that I haven't mentioned here, that while writing this lambda we haven't provided any role. So basically it's going to create a default role there, but we will cover it more detail. We will in next videos we will cover what is this stack, what is this construct, and all different things. So in the console it says that these are the things is going to make changes in the AWS. So it's going to create a role, and then it's going to create a resource that is a lambda, and it's asking whether it should create changes or not. So I'm going to say yes, and let's see the cloud formation. And the cloud formation, you can see a stack is getting created. Review is under process. Let's wait for some time. Okay, so it's completed, and these are the resources it's created. Basically, let me see in flat view. So it's created a metadata, function, and role. So let's verify the one thing that I got an issue while deploying, that is it was not supporting Python version 3.7. so I have changed it to 3.10, and now let's verify this function quickly. So let's go to lambda. Inside lambda you will see the function. So we haven't named the lambda, that's why it's creating a random name. Maybe it's deciding name by itself, but if we define the function name, that's gonna take that name only. And just run, I'll just test this function. So it's the code that we have provided. Let's just test this. Okay, so the issues related with code, we might have made a error while copying copy paste copying the code. So let's just remove these things and print hello. Okay, let's deploy this and test. Okay, so it basically worked well. So now the time to clean up the resources what we have created. So let's destroy using command CDK destroy. So it's asking for confirmation whether to delete or not. So I'm asserting S. Okay, now let's have a look on the CloudFormation stack, and you'll see that's under the deletion. So delete is in progress. Let's wait some time. Okay, it's got completed. Now there won't be any such lambda. If you refresh, okay, it's gone. So it has cleaned up things. So that's all for this video, and please comment if you need any clarification or is something left that I can cover in coming videos. Thank you for watching.